Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the Agent Ashenbrenner YouTube channel. So I ran a little YouTube poll, which by the way, we unlocked advanced features like putting out those community posts, very cool. But I ran a poll, asked you what video you wanted to see next. You voted for the setup tour. That's very nice, but some of my friends pointed out that having a public record of the layout of my house might not be the best security issue, so instead we're going to be doing a movie review today. Today we are reviewing the number 2 movie on my top 100 movies list, and that movie will be Man of Steel. Alright, Man of Steel. We're going to just dive right into this. I'll stay spoiler free up to a point, but then I'll give you a spoiler warning and then we'll talk the nitty gritty. Alright, so first of all, I've seen Man of Steel so many times. It is a fantastic movie. I love rewatching it. I had the honor of rewatching it with my girlfriend the other day, and it was awesome. You know, this was her first exposure to the Superman character, other than Injustice 2, and it was really cool to see how she enjoyed it. But let's just talk about my thoughts on the movie. First of all, fantastic special effects and visual effects. The fight scenes, the superpowers, all of that just works so well in this movie. Fantastic job there. And then also, it's just a solid, well-told story. It's got kind of like an alien invasion vibe to it, and honestly, I just got no complaints about that aspect of it, the theme, the story. Now, there are 2 parts of it I will talk about that I don't enjoy, but we'll get onto that into the spoiler section. But overall, I can't recommend this movie enough. So excellent. Cast did fantastic. The acting is good. Amazing effects. Cinematography is just off the charts. It's a Zack Snyder film with all of the awesomeness that you would expect from a Zack Snyder film. We got just tons of cool stuff to enjoy with this film. So that's going to be the basic little review with the non-spoiler section. Now let's break down some of this movie piece by piece. So starting off, we got a good starting scene on Krypton. You get to see some cool alien creatures. You get to see some of the Kryptonian military. You get to see all the high-tech gadgets they're using. You learn more about Jor-El and Zod. Zod is our main villain for this movie, and he is a fantastic villain, played by Michael Shannon. So well done in this movie. So the look at Krypton was interesting, and then it has an interesting thing about how Kryptonian society is one where like people are given a role before they're even born, and society plans out your whole life for you and that kind of stuff, and how that's taking away the free will, how you're losing a lot of things, a lot of goodness with that kind of thing, and how Jor-El and Lara were rebelling against that. So that was cool. I enjoyed that. But then the first opening scene where you actually see the destruction of Krypton and how they sent Superman away, excellent job there. So then we skip forward. This movie is told kind of like it jumps between the present day and some flashbacks. It just retells you the origin story of Superman. You see a lot of cool scenes, like him rescuing people from the oil refinery. You just learn about like what he's been up to all these years. Now, of course, we get on to our main plot, which is the alien invasion itself. Superman learning about his people and accidentally summoning General Zod and his crew to Earth. It's so good, like just the scenes where like he's learning to fly, the parts where he's debating what to do because of the situation he's put in. I love the scene where he goes to church and talks to a priest for help. Like, excellent scene right there. As a deeply religious man myself, that scene right in particular, loved it. And here's the thing, I live in the state of Kansas, and I remember seeing this movie. I went to the midnight premiere with my dad, and oh man, it was so super awesome. Now, when you're in a theater full of Kansas people and you see the mental scene where Superman is wearing a Royals shirt, Clark Kent wearing a Royals t-shirt, there was applauding, man. We went nuts. It was awesome. And then, the other thing for Kansas, towards the very end of the movie, Superman will actually say, "I grew up in Kansas, General. I'm about as American as I get." We literally, there was a round of applause in the theater. We were all losing our minds. It was epic. The battles are amazing. The destruction, the power level of these Kryptonians duking it out. I loved every minute of it. I love the story and how General Zod is trying to make new Krypton, but Superman wants to save all the humans, the people that have adopted him. Talks about how he grew up with his small town values, and it's just fantastic. Now, of course, there are a few complaints I do have about this movie. Really only two that mainly come to mind. The first one is the scene where Jonathan Kent died. Now, in it, well, there's two reasons. One, Jonathan Kent tells people to go to the overpass. That's actually wrong. You are not supposed to do that in a tornado. There was actually in the newspaper, our local newspaper, they actually put an article about telling people like, hey, if you're ever in a tornado, don't do that. Don't go to the overpass. So that was one thing. But the thing that actually bothered me is that Superman let his dad die. And yes, I know it's because his father told him not to. I know it's because his father wanted him to keep it a secret, to keep him safe, because he didn't think the world was ready. I know all of that. But Superman letting his dad die when he had the power to save him, like, every time I watch that movie, that's the one part that really gets me. All right. The other part I didn't like at first. It's, of course, the infamous scene. I remember watching in theaters the final battle between Clark Kent and General Zod, and thinking as it's going on, as it went on longer and longer, I kept thinking to myself, this is the new Superman reboot. This is where they could do something different. What if Superman ends up killing Zod? I actually started thinking about it before it happened, and sure enough, at the very end, Superman killed General Zod. At first, I did not like this at all. Like, I'm a huge fan of the superheroes that don't kill, and I love that when that's part of their character, like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, the guys who don't kill, who don't want to kill. But, you know, as I thought about it more and more, as I rewatched the scenes, and of course, yes, Superman was in an impossible situation. He wasn't going to let that family die. He wasn't going to let Zod commit all these horrible acts. And the more I watch it, the more I'm okay with it, the situation he was put in. And they did a good job of having it show that right after Superman kills Zod, snaps his neck, Superman has that remorse. He is upset that he was put in that situation. He didn't want to kill Zod. He didn't want to, and he was upset that he had to. So the more I watch it, I'm actually fine with it now. But like I did point that out to my girlfriend that I didn't like that at first. And, you know, we talked about that for a little bit. And it's really fun talking with her about all the different parts of the movie, the parts we liked, the parts we didn't. But yeah, so those were my two big complaints of it. But other than that, I found it awesome. It was a great foundation for the DCEU. It had references to the other characters. There's the Wayne Tech satellite that Zod throws into Superman. There are several LexCorp trucks that show up, as well as a LexCorp building. You got introduced some good cast of characters. We, of course, have Lois Lane. We got Perry White, who would return in the sequel. We were introduced to General Swanwick, who would come back in several sequels, and we actually learned more about him later on in the franchise. But overall, I just had an absolute blast with this movie. And again, I've watched it many, many times. I think it's the second best movie in the DCEU. I think it is the second best fictional movie ever made. I just keep saying it. It's awesome. So yeah, I definitely recommend, if you haven't seen Man of Steel, go for it. And if I had to give it a number, I'd say I'd give this a 98 out of 100 score. Like 9.8 out of 10. Excellent film. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Have you seen Man of Steel? If you have, tell me. Where does it rank in the DCEU for you? Did you like it? What are your thoughts on it? What's your favorite scene? What's your least favorite scene? Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to like and subscribe if you feel like it, and have an awesome day.